salvation that would be given then. But beyond, the far-reaching thing is the coming of the great deliverer, the great Messiah.
The branch.
Out of the branch.
Yes, sir.
Out of the line of Judah.
Yes, sir.
So that king will come. So that was the key note for the predictive part of this prophecy. Because prophecy a lot of times carry a lot of prediction that the then persons would not pick up, because they would first apply to themselves, as would have said. What chapter actually leap out at you?
What can you break that down? So I don't understand when you say leap out at me.
All right, I catch your attention. What particular chapter or verse catch your attention? The last time we were going to chapter 1 to 30.
Based on what?
Based on what we have studied.
Mostly speaking about salvation, which is why it is the main key word of the book. So as you made your point earlier, I can think of chapter 7, chapter 11, and chapter 14.
Okay. All right. And the last time we were somewhere about chapter 20 something, right?
Yes, sir. I think we reach in chapter 30.
All right. So yes, what we want to do today is to just look at something, but I want to tease you a little while. Who was Tiglath-Pileser?
He was a great Assyrian king.
All right. Great warlord, eh?
Yes, sir. Great warlord.
Yeah, about what time did he rule?
During the period of 1150 to 1077 BC.
You want to look back at that?
Yes, sir. I found it on the internet while I was making some research on it.
Okay, but most historians kind of hold off at 740 to 727 BC. That's Tiglath-Pileser the third.
Oh, you're talking about the third?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I found Tiglath-Pileser the first.
Okay. The third. Oh, but that's okay. I'm glad you're looking at that. So in chapter 30, we have.
Good morning, sir.
The deliverance. Good morning. The deliverance message. Our message of condemnation, beg pardon, to the 8th century Israelite, pronouncing judgment on their immoral and idolatrous lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
Right, and the person that they would use to judge, would be Tiglath-Pileser the third, warlord of Assyria.
Yes, I'll make some research on him too.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
What are in my research on Tiglath-Pileser the third, I realized that he is mentioned in the Bible also, but not the name Tiglath-Pileser.
Paul.
Yeah, Paul, sir.
Paul. That's all right.
Okay. Yes.
Good. The same person, Paul.
Yes.
All right. So it is covered in 1 through 39. All of these pronouncement and judgment on their moral situation. the immoral act. In chapter, as we said in chapter 1 through 30, covered a vast amount of this. If you look at chapter 30, and I'm just jumping a little bit, chapter 29, just to highlight, I just want to highlight a few things. Chapter 29, it says, woe to the formalists in religion. And that is chapter 39. It's giving the idea that a lot of formalism was there in religion. You can jot down a note or two there, but the idea is that they had altars and they have all of these things and they present it and trying to soothe their way to sacrifice, but they were not obedient.
Yes, sir.
It's like sometimes, and I like to be practical, sometimes we gather and we partake of the Lord's Supper, we give up our means and we sing beautiful songs and all of that and listen to beautiful lessons, but it's just a formal situation. It's not an internal situation where persons are spirited, where they link with God. They're showing. And Jesus Christ actually mentioned that was similar, that they come close with their mouth, but their hearts are what? Far.
Yes, sir.
Far me.
So we need to kind of look at the book in that light. It is salvation, what God really wants for mankind. And he's preparing the eternal Messiah. Chapter 29, latter part says, woe to those who lie or hide their plans from God. I want to just turn to 29, and I know that there's a little thing here. 29, 15 following. 15 to 24. I'm going to try to rush there and read it. 29, 15 to 24. Just highlighting something. It says, woe to those who seek deep to hide their counsel far from the Lord, and their works are in the dark. They say, who sees us and who knows us? I definitely wanted to do that, because sometimes we think that we can outsmart God on.
Yes, sir.
And it says, woe to those who seek deep to hide their counsel from God.
Yes,
mankind think that they can outsmart God on.
Yes, sir.
But the warning came, woe to them. Then, chapter 30 that we want to give some light to. There are three highlights that we want to look at in chapter 30. And this woe to the pro-Egypt party. Woe to the pro-Egypt party. The enunciation of alliance with Egypt.
Yes,
look
sir.
at 1, 1, 2, 3, they wanted to have that alliance with Egypt.
Yes, sir.
And say, whoa. Then it actually shows also in 18 through 26 a picture of the Messianic age. So we don't want to miss that out, because the Messiah is interwoven into the book of Isaiah.
Yes, sir.
And you go through, you're going to find the Messiah, the promised Messiah. The Messiah is coming. Christ is coming. Redemption is coming. And that's the everlasting redemption, the redemption that will save human beings forever, and not just out of the hands of some warlords. All right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the reason they had problem when Jesus Christ came, because they were looking for a what? Physical
Fleshly Messiah.
warlord, a man that swing the sword and,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, but he didn't. They were looking for a king that would ride on horses and in chariots, but he came riding on a donkey.
Yes, sir.
And there's no way that they use donkey for war, don't?
No, sir.
You see, and kings don't normally ride on donkey. Kings ride on horses and in chariots.
Yes, sir.
So you need to look at it and kind of blend it in. Then not only that picture, and maybe we could look a little bit on verses 18 to 26 of chapter 30. Brother Solon, could you look at that? Or if you have it, Brother Roy?
Yes, sir, I can. It reads, therefore the Lord will wait that he may be gracious to you, and therefore he will be exalted that he may have mercy on you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him, for the people shall dwell in Zion at Jerusalem. You shall weep no more. He will be very gracious to you at the sound of your cry. When he hears it, he will answer you. And though the Lord gives you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teachers will not be moved into a corner anymore. But your eyes shall see your teachers. Your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Whenever you turn to the right hand or whenever you turn to the left, you will also defile the covering of your images of silver and the ornament of your model images of gold. You will throw them away as an unclean thing. You will say to them, get away. Then he will give you the rain for your seed, with which you sow the ground, and bread of the increase on the earth. It will be fat and plentiful. In that day your cattle will feed in large pastures. Likewise the oxen and the young donkeys that work the ground will eat cured fodder, which has been winnowed with the shovel of and fan.
All
There
right.
will be on every
Go
stop
ahead.
here.
Go ahead, man.
There will be on every high mountain and on every high hill rivers and streams of waters in the day of the great slaughter when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon will be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be sevenfold as the light of the 7 days. In the day that the Lord binds up the wounds of his people and heals the stroke of their wound.
Right. So in spite of what's happening there and then, deliverance is coming.
Yes, sir. The Lord will be gracious.
The Lord will be gracious. He will be merciful. But we cannot escape, as is rightly said, the restraint, the discipline of God. And discipline normally comes before the blessing.
Yes, sir.
Kind of sound weird, don't?
Yes, sir, it does.
But for example, in a practical way, you men are disciplining yourself right now. For the day of blessings. You're
Yes,
gonna look
sir.
forward to graduation, and then after graduation, you look forward to being on your own in some country, whether it's Jamaica, Belize, or whether it is Jerusalem or Africa or somewhere in Europe or somewhere in North America or somewhere in the Eastern Caribbean, wherever it might be, don't.
Yes, sir.
Where you will not be semi-shuttled in. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the discipline must first come. That you know exactly what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how it should be
Done.
Yes,
sir.
Then the latter part of that 30, it gives the idea that Jehovah's vengeance are upon the Assyrians. And remember now, the Assyrians were the warlords, right?
Yes, sir.
And God allowed them now to whip his people.
Yes, sir.
As a form of discipline. In chapter 31, 32, there are several little things that I want to just point out, and I don't know, by this you should have read through the 66.
Yes, sir, I did. I did. Yes,
wonderful. Sir. Wonderful. What about you, Brother Rod?
Yes, sir. I don't complete it, sir.
All right, good. But you just follow on. In chapter, as I said, chapter 31, 32, there's a woe to those who trust in horses and chariots. You know, what are the things that the Assyrians had and still have? They have a lot of horses, but also the Egyptians, the Africans also had a lot of what? Horses and chariots.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And their main military might was in their horses and chariots. And then Israel started to what? Lean towards them because their military strength seems stronger than theirs, not realizing that their military strength was in God. In a practical way, you can think about politics, the word politics today. And you think about military might that lies within the US and military might that lies in Russia and military might that lies in China. You know, these world powers.
Yes, sir.
But truly, God can dismantle any of these armies without even taking a breath. As we speak, we talk about God as human, you know. That's a term they call in theology, anthropomorphism, putting on physical attributes of man to God, or putting God in the form of man own. He can destroy them without taking a breath or breathing a breath. No, Israel did not take this to heart and understand, and they started to lean over. And the person who
he did not depend on him.
And it is the tactics, it is the scheme of the adversary to cause persons to turn away from God. Satan has always that tactical, knowing what to do and what to say to divert the attention of humanity. And you go back to the Garden of Eden, you know, as God says, you shall not eat this, and you know, he says you shall not surely die. Don't, just one word. You shall be wise as God. Then look a little bit. The folly of relying upon Egypt or Assyria. Jehovah, neither Egypt or Assyria can determine the destiny of Jerusalem. Please bear it in mind. And chapter 31 actually pointed that out.
Yes, sir.
They cannot. Great power like Egypt or Assyria cannot determine the destiny of Jerusalem, because the Messianic king and kingdom is coming. That is in chapter 32. You know, the Messianic king and the kingdom is coming in chapter 32. You see that coming up. So in spite of the fact they were relying on this, he's saying, listen now, these nations around cannot determine the destiny. Because God, the Jehovah, the creator of the universe, has already fixed this.
Yes, sir. I think they were trying to get support or help from the Egyptians people.
Yes, they were trying to make an alliance with the Egyptian people.
Yes, sir.
But there's something in 32
Lack
that
of
I
trust.
want. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was saying they have like a lack of trust in God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look at 32, 9 through 15. A rebuke to the women of Jerusalem. It says in verse 9, arise, raise up, you women who are at ease, and hear my voice. You complacent daughters, give ear to my speech. Read verse 10 following, Brother Roy.
In a year and some days you will be troubled, you complacent woman, for the vintage will fail, the gathering will not come. Tremble, you woman who are at ease, be troubled, you complacent one. Strip yourselves, make yourselves bare, and gird sackcloth on your waist. People shall mourn upon their breast for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. On the land of my people will come up thorns and bearers. Yes, on all the happy homes in the joyous city, because the palaces will be forsaken. The bustling city will be
Deserted.
Deserted. The forts and towers will become liars forever, and a joy of wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks, until the Spirit is poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness.
Until the Spirit, until the Spirit is poured upon us from on high. And this is the effect of righteousness, the reign of righteousness. When this comes, that is it. But there were some complacent women and daughters. The city that is bustling after a while become nothing. The donkeys will rejoice in that city, run up and down rather than people.
Turn pastor, sir.
Become a pastor, yes. So that woe came to those women of Jerusalem. Another part of chapter 32 talk about the blessedness of the future of the Messiah. That is 16 through 20. Where it says, read, Brother Solin.
Yes, sir. 16 to 20. Yes, sir. Then justice will dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. The work of righteousness will be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. My people will dwell in a peaceful habitation, in secure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. Though hail comes down on the forest, and the city is brought low in humiliation. Blessed are you who sow beside all waters, who send out freely the feet of the ox and the donkey.
Blessed is coming.
Yes, sir.
blessing is coming. And you can see a lot of things happen in different parts of the world, you know, that cause people to think that that's the end. You know, you think of how the Caribbean people were treated once. And in spite of the fact we have not reached back where it should, we are making progress as our people.
Yes.
You know, in fact, we are having war, civil war practically in Jamaica where so many persons dying, yet there progress. In fact, in your land, Brother Solon, they're having civil war, but yet steady progress is still making. We might not hear so much about the progress.
Yes, sir.
But all is not lost in Haiti.
No.
All is not lost in Jamaica.
No, sir.
The fact that people in general, the citizenship has actually forgotten God to a certain extent, just a few. Well, God will restore and renew. He will restore and renew. And that's some highlights. Chapter 33, woe to the Assyrians, you know, to the Assyrian destroyer, judgment upon the oppressor. Then at the same time, in that same chapter, you have glory of the Messianic age. So although the warnings are coming, then still the blessings are there in the future. The Messiah is coming.
Yes, sir.
So, woe to those that are oppressing people now. And that flows in various directions. It don't have to be leaders, but just people that oppress one another. People in your own community that oppress. People in institutions that oppress others. And don't be frightened. It can happen right there at JSP or in JSP. It can happen in the church. It can happen in your home. It can happen in the society in general. But woe to the oppressors.
Yes, sir.
And there's a contrast between the destiny of Edom and Israel. That kind of a rough down.
Yes, sir.
Look at chapter 34, and I know chapter 34 and chapter 35 give that thing. Terror of impending world judgment upon the nations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sometimes judgment doesn't come just with war. Huh?
Yes, sir, it doesn't.
Sometimes it comes in the form of plagues. And that you're trying to frighten you, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, it happened, and God said, you know, this COVID might be just that judgment that God is using to bring the world to his senses. Every nation on the earth has been affected by it. You watch it, brethren, and I'm not trying to pull something and say, well, this is what Isaiah is saying. But judgment comes in waves.
Yes, sir, we get it.
Desolation and destruction of Edom in particular in chapter, and we did that, that is in Minor Prophet, we did that in Obadiah. Then the exaltation and glory of Israel. And you remember what Edom did to Israel, don't?
Yes, sir.
They actually,
although they were supposed to be brothers.
Thank you. Well, listen now, you have the thing tapped, man.
Yes, sir.
There are families, but they actually work against them with other persons.
Yes, sir.
But in the end, Israel became victorious.
Yes, sir. They were God's people.
And there's some historical situation linked in chapter 36 to 39. Isaiah's activity during the reign of Hezekiah. And I want you to kind of grab that a little bit, because Isaiah and Hezekiah live in the same time.
Yes, sir.
And I have no doubt that Isaiah knew Hezekiah well.
Yes, sir. He does.
Because he was in the city, and he was one that speak from the point of view of the politicians. He was a statesman.
Yes, sir. And I was wondering about something, sir, while I was reading through the book. I believe in chapter 39, when Hezekiah, showed the people all of his riches, everything that was in his house and in the kingdom. You know, Isaiah just went to him, like history told us that, you know, during the time of Easter, if I'm right, when she wanted to go to the king, she had to do certain things, praying that the king
Esther.
doesn't kill her. Yes, sir.
Esther.
Yes, sir, I know, but it is showing that during that period, if the king did not invite you, you can't go to him. But
That's correct.
now in Isaiah 39, he went to Hezekiah asking him question, which could be, you know, frustrating or vexing. When he said to Hezekiah, well, because you have showed them everything in your house, now Babylon is going to withdraw all of that from you. They will carry your people out.
Yes. Yes.
So I was wondering, how could he just went to the king without asking permission or something? Maybe the Bible doesn't give a record of that. I don't know.
No, but as I said, you know, the high possibility that there were people that knew each other. The possibility they could have gone to the same school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I make the point. Based on what you said, I was wondering about it, but it seems to be that they had some kind of relationship or something.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
So in chapter 36 through 39, the double attempt for Sennacherib to obtain permission or possession, I beg your pardon, of Jerusalem and the city's deliverance. Sennacherib invasion of Judah and capture of 45 cities. Then Rakshakeh sent by him from Lachish against Jerusalem. Rakshakeh, defiant threats, and you'd have read that. Then the response in Jerusalem, and Jehovah replied to him. Not just Isaac, but Jehovah replied to him.
Yes, sir.
Messengers from Sennacherib, and you'd have read this, to Laban,
yes, sir.
demanding surrenders of Jerusalem. Then the insulting letter, and this is just a rough thing, insulting letter.
Yes,
have you ever stopped and read that insulting letter? Chapter 37 and verse 8 through 13. Let's look at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know you'd have read through.
Then
but let's look at it.
Yes, sir. It took how much?
Chapter 8 through 13. That is 37, chapter 37.
Yes, verses 8 to 13. Then the Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria warning against Libnah, for he heard that he had departed from Lachish. And the king heard concerning Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia, he has come out to make war with you. So when he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, Thus you shall speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, Do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Look, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by utterly destroying them. And shall you be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered those whom my fathers have destroyed, Gozan and Aran and Rezeph, and the people of Eden who were in Telazar. Where is the king of Amath, the king of Arpad, and the king of the city of Sepharvaim, Ina and Eva? Yes, sir, that's 213, sir.
Yes, I just want you to look at it and
yes, sir.
see.
It's just threatening.
Yes, and it says, no, you know, don't let God, your God, you know, you trust, deceive you.
Yes, sir.
If the other nation were not delivered, then who are you and your God? That's insulting, don't?
Yes, sir.
So it was not an easy time. It was not an easy time. But Hezekiah and his prayer, he prayed in verse 14 to 20.
Yes, sir.
He prayed and he said, you have that, brother?
Read it for you.
Yeah, brother,
Yes,
I want
sir.
to get involved. 14 to 20 of 37, and we know that we're backing up a little bit.
Okay, sir. And Ezekiel received the letter from the hand of a messenger and read it. And Ezekiel went up to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. Then Ezekiel prayed to the Lord, saying, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, the one who dwells between the cherubims, who are God, you alone of all kingdom of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ears, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and where is that? O Lord, and see and hear all the words of Sennacherib, Sennacherib, which he has sent to reproach the living God. Truly, Lord, the king of Assyria have laid waste all the nation and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire, for they were not gods, but the work of men's hand. Wood and stone, therefore, they destroy them. Now therefore, O Lord, our God, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are the Lord, you alone. That's verse 20, sir.
Yes, and I'm just going to run through verse 21. And then Isaiah, the son of Amos, sent to Ezekiel, saying, thus said the Lord God of Israel, because you have prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria. This is a word which the Lord has spoken. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, has despised you, laugh you to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken their head behind you, whom you have reproached and blasphemed, against whom you have raised your voice and lift up your eyes on the hill, or an eye against the Holy One of Israel. By your servant, you have reproached the Lord and said, by the multitude of your chariots, I have come to the eyes of this mountain, to the limits of Lebanon. I will cut down its tall cedars. And Lebanon was known for cedars and cypress trees. And, you know, it was just a beautiful place. It had good wells, and I'm just jumping. But God now says, because you become so proud, I am going to discipline you. You know, it was really a reproach to talk to God that way through that letter. It was not just Hezekiah the king. but we're talking about the God of creation. Comments that you may have?
Well, as we would have said already, you know, through all the book, the same thing is being repeated again and again. God's discipline or his judgment against his people for what they have done wrong, and a way to help them out from their current situation. So each time something happen, you know, and then he asks them if they are like willing to repent. If they cry out to him, he will listen to them and, you know, change the situation, which summed up everything all together with only one word that I would say, the word love. So God in his love is always trying, you know, to provide a way out for his children. But in our stubbornness, and there is a chapter which talks about that, when God says that I'm going to leave you all and desolate, you know, he was showing them how they are like stubborn to obey his word. But still, he provide a way for them out. He provides salvation.
Yes, sir. We're going to run the next 2 minutes and then we'll get our break. In chapter 38, we have Hezekiah's sickness. And we would have learned that Sennacherib's army was destroyed, you know. In chapter 38, we learn that Hezekiah became sick, and also his promise. You know, Hezekiah's song of thanksgiving, and also the meaning of discord. Then the embassy of Merodach Balaam to the king, and Hezekiah's and Isaiah's rebuke. And that's what you spoke about, where Isaiah rebuked the king.
Yes, sir.
You should not have shown. And this is one of the big light when it comes to wisdom literature. You know, where it says in Proverbs that a gift or gifts makes men heart happy, but
Yes,
in
sir.
long and short, it causes men to become softened. Huh?
Yes, sir.
You give somebody something and their heart becomes softened. No, this is exactly what happened to Hezekiah.
Yes,
and in
sir.
spite of the fact that God lengthened his days, in his latter years, he suffered immensely and he was killed.
Yes, sir.
We'll pick up, it's 20 minutes past 11. You know, our class must get that 10 minutes break until 10:30. We'll pick up with chapter 30, beg your pardon, chapter 40 through 66.
Yes, sir.
Our next class, if we can finish it, we'll push it till next week. But 10:30, we'll be back.
All right, sir. Great.